My name is Madison Daniel, and today I will be talking about Chapter 9 group processes, specifically the process of groupthink and how that has had an effect on the presidential election. So like I mentioned, I'm going to talk about groupthink, and groupthink is the tendency to seek agreement between all members of group. The need for agreement overrides any kind of motivation towards obtaining accurate information and make an unbiased decision. Now, when I say unbiased, I mean we make decisions solely based off of facts and leave opinions out of it. And like I mentioned, I'm going to talk about the presidential election, more specifically the two main parties of the election, and how people in these two groups are affected by groupthink. Now, the difference between the Democratic and Republican parties are their core beliefs. So things like abortion, gun rights, economic ideas, military issues, taxes, healthcare, immigration. I could go on and on and on. And to give you an example, abortion. Democrats, they are more for abortion. Women should have the right to make their own decisions. There should be no law against what they can and cannot do. While Republicans believe that abortion should be fully illegal, there shouldn't even be a decision, there shouldn't even be a discussion, it should just be illegal. And things like gun rights, Democrats, they're more for restriction. They want more gun control. They believe that there should be more laws against getting a gun to keep more people safe. And Republicans fully believe in the Second Amendment, that everybody has the right to bear arms, no matter who you are, no matter what's going on, you have the right to own a firearm. Those are just a few things. Obviously, there's a lot more political issues going on in the world that they have difference of opinions on. And a lot of ways that we know their difference of opinions is through mainstream media. And groupthink affects the Democratic and Republican parties with the help of mainstream media, which, it helps spread information faster, whether it's accurate or not. I know Facebook is starting to do like a fact checker thing, but for the most part, it doesn't matter because they don't know if it's accurate or not. It's just whatever people want to say, they put out there. So with mainstream media these days, people tend to believe what they see and read first, rather than attempting to find supportive information. And this makes it easier for members to believe in what they say to be true, but being able to point out everyone else believes in it too, like their parents or their relatives or influencers or their political leaders, whoever they follow on social media. And social platforms like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, there's a whole list of those too. And these everyday people like you and I, we use examples of others who support similar views as us as credible sources just because they're higher in society or they're higher to us. Like we believe in what our parents tell us because our parents tend to be right. But even the information that they're getting may not be accurate. They're not credible sources of information always, and they're not the experts. And basing our decisions solely on the fact that we trust them without doing our own research, it's dangerous, and we should really start to dig more into it to figure out the truth instead of just accepting what we read or hear or see. And that goes into how groupthink can affect people's personal opinions. You don't get to make your own decisions. You kind of believe what everybody else is telling you. And that's kind of my next point. So if we can understand that groupthink is the reason we believe in information, we might be able to begin recognizing that maybe it's not true. Recognize that groupthink has an effect on how we perceive it, and understand that we should look further for the truth before just blindly accepting information from any kind of source. We have to dig deeper, and before we post about it or tell others to believe in it or argue with others on it, on any of those core beliefs that I listed between the Democrats and the Republicans, recognizing that we aren't looking into information deeply enough, it can help us be more accurate in deciding where we stand on such important topics. Instead of following the rest of the party, even if you identify with the majority of the beliefs of the Democratic Party, it doesn't mean you have to agree with that party on everything. Take abortion, for example. If you think it should be illegal, as the Republican Party does, it doesn't mean you have to agree with the Republican Party on every other major belief. You can have a difference of opinion. Whatever party you identify yourself with, it doesn't define who you are or your core beliefs. And the title of the party, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't affect who you are. And that comes down to blind loyalty or blind devotion. People don't want to second guess their original beliefs. So if they say they're Democratic, they don't second guess that, oh, well, maybe this year I could go for a Republican Party because he makes good points. They don't want to second guess themselves, so they keep voting for the Democrats. No, not everybody does this, but a lot of people do. So they find, in doing that, they try to convince themselves that they're doing the right thing. And by doing so, they find every reason that they can to support those beliefs instead of maybe finding the truth. Maybe it is the truth of what they've read, but maybe it's not. And that can lead to the blind devotion to any political party or a candidate. Democratic and Republican parties, they view information in ways that they want to believe it instead of looking further to find the truth. And like I said, that can lead to blind devotion to a candidate or a party. And it's blind devotion because when groupthink occurs, we don't check for accurate information. We just present information that supports our ideas, regardless of whether it's right or wrong. And then I wanted to talk about understanding that. If we understand that a possible reason for us to be supporting candidates and parties is due to groupthink, then, that's a first step. And I came up with the steps of how we could get past groupthink when it comes to political views. If we understand that there's a problem, that we're accepting information without actually knowing the accuracy of it, and we can acknowledge that new information that we're getting from social media or from wherever, that it might not be accurate, and we should look further to determine the truth instead of just blindly accepting whatever information falls in our laps. And by accepting that truth and making accurate decisions that are unbiased, just knowing the truth and actually using that to our advantage. Once we can accomplish this, we can make reasonable choices and, possibly demolish groupthink among political parties and or candidates. And it's okay to be different, to have some agreements with the Democrats and some agreements with the Republicans. You don't have to fully follow one or the other. And so in conclusion, this is how groupthink affects the groups following political parties in today's society. And just a little recap, mainstream media provides information, accurate or not, which means we can't believe everything, and we need to look further to find the truth. Groupthink affects a person's ability to have personal opinions. If you agree with someone like your parents or something on everything, then you lose a part of yourself in what you have to say, and we shouldn't do that. And, by not looking for accurate information, it can lead to blind devotion. We shouldn't just support a candidate because they're Democratic and we're Democratic, or they're Republican and we're Republican. It should just be because, they make good points, they have good plans, and I've done my research to support that. And so even if I am a Democrat, maybe the Republicans have a better idea, or even if I am a Republican, maybe the Democrats have a better idea. And we shouldn't just be solely based on our bias. That leads into the understanding that groupthink is causing a problem in how we deal with accurate information. And that can lead us into making our own unbiased decisions about political parties or candidates. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for listening.